Crawford lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated and please turn off all your cell phones. Do we have a pastor here today?
You got to
Do the
pray.
prayer? Well, I will ask Miss Cummings if she'd be glad to say the prayer today.
Please bow your heads. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to meet together as we discuss education issues about students in this community. God, we ask for wisdom, knowledge, and most of all, words from you to know that we are doing the right thing in everything we decide. Lord, just bless our teachers, students, administrators, all the people in the education departments in all areas. Lord, we love you and praise you. Amen.
Thank you so much. Okay, first under presentations, we'll have the Putnam County School Food Service logo winner. Chriswell, do you want to take that over?
No, but I'm going to let Nikki Hawthorne do that. She's our Director of School Food Service, and this is her show, and I want her to have all the credit. She's done the hard work.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Criswell and board members. I'm excited to be able to present this today. This past fall, the School Food Service Department conducted a logo and tagline contest for the School Food Service Department. We really wanted to kind of brand ourselves as a department. I had Wendy Mason in our office facilitate this. She contacted the high school art educators to help with this contest. Our goal was to find a logo that was not only for Putnam students, but created by one of our own students. I'd like to go ahead and present her drawing and her logo, and then I'll talk a little bit about our winner today. So this is our newly designed hot off the press logo. And she created the tagline that says healthy nutrition for greater ambitions. And we have some silverware that has turned into some pencils, and hopefully it won't land on the floor.
Can we see it?
Since it's for us to approve, it'd be nice to know. Oh,
Oh, that's awesome. Pam.
there, look at Pam. Vanna.
I love it.
Vanna Douglas.
That is great.
Beautiful.
We are also field testing things like this for our school food service department and our staff. Our winner is going to be getting one of these to take with us. We also are having the aprons, and our school food service staff will be wearing these next year. As you can see, I'm wearing a lovely logoed sweater by this great student that created this, and a shirt as well. So it's all over our office. We're super excited about it. I'd like to take a minute and tell you about our talented winner. She is currently a 12th grade student at Crescent City Junior-Senior High School. She is a very rounded student that is goal-oriented and driven to make the most of her educational experiences by excelling in a variety of rigorous courses while also completing the Certified Nursing Assistant Academy. She'll be taking the CNA Industry Credential Exam in May. She continues to plan in the health field and has been accepted to Daytona State College in the fall to pursue a degree in physical therapy. She also plans to obtain her master's degree as well. Her other interests include reading, drawing, singing, guitar, and was a member of the Crescent City girls soccer team for the past 3 years. In addition, she is the song leader of her church, where she leads the choir and congregation in songs of praise. A truly gifted young lady with the mindset to set your goals, keep focused, do the right things, work hard, and you will achieve your dreams. Her mother is with her today, Miss Gloria Herrera, and a great support system. Her and her dad have joined her to accept this award. Please help me congratulate one of our very own, Rebecca Herrera.
Oh, that is so. Oh.
apron to take with you, and
Oh, wow. That's cute.
And Ms. Crawford wanted an apron as well.
I do.
okay.
Yeah, hold up the apron.
Okay.
That is so neat.
Oh, no, it's cute.
Okay, I'll take all your stuff back with you and help you.
Thank you, Ms. Hawthorne and Mr. Red.
Rebecca, thank you so much. Looks like she's got a future advertising, or there's any number
Yeah,
of
it's
careers
great.
that you can use that in, and we're very proud of you. Thank you for being here today. Ms. Higginbotham, our principal at Crescent City, thank you so much for being here today. Crescent City High School.
Thank you. We're going to move on, and I'm going to call Pat Darren up from the Division of Forestry. He has a presentation of a monetary amount that we receive from cutting national forest timber.
State Forest.
State forest, yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. Ms. Criswell and the members of the board, it's my pleasure to submit the enclosed payment of $1,944.52 to the Putnam County School Board. This payment reflects the distributions from Willacat and Etni Creek State Forests receipts for fiscal year 14-15 in accordance to Section 589 Florida statutes. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services manages 37 state forests encompassing over 1 million acres. Through a comprehensive resource management plan, we encourage the use of forest lands for recreation, as habitat for threatened and endangered plants and animals, for soil and water conservation, and as a source of raw materials for a dynamic wood-using industry. During fiscal year 14-15, the department collected approximately $6,708,481 from the operations of state forests, including $5 million from timber sales and $1.2 million in recreational fees from over 2 million visitors. As you know, these activities also benefit 12 counties that are home to Florida's income-producing state forests. These counties, deemed fiscally constrained per Florida Statute 589.081, receive 15% of the gross receipts from a state forest in proration to the acreage located in each county. Based on fiscal year 14-15 gross receipts, a total of $403,723.75 is being distributed to Florida counties and school boards. I hope these funds assist you in carrying out your board's critical responsibilities. Sincerely, Adam H. Putnam, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank
Pat.
you so much.
Keep those trees growing. Okay. Next, we have Stan Owens and his colleagues to come forward and make a presentation.
And Stan, if you would, I'm so happy you were able to be here this afternoon. If you'll come on up to the podium and introduce your commander and the others that you have with you today. And I'm going to let you all do the talking about this wonderful experience we had with Boys State this year. And then I have the certificates for you to pass out.
Thank you, Phyllis. Are the winners here?
They were all invited. Let's see.
I didn't see anyone. That's what kind of confused me.
They were all invited.
But
So,
they're not here then, okay.
well, we can announce
Transportation.
them anyway.
Problem. Well, I just want to thank, I'm Stan Owens. I'm Vice Commander of American Legion Post 45 here in Palatka. I hope if you haven't already come over to visit us, we are very active in the community in a number of things. Several of the board members here have visited us. In fact, they were part of our political forums that we hold, which we're currently doing now for this coming election year too. And we're proud of our community here and what we can do for it. And they've certainly done a lot for us. I'm here to represent the Boys State program. The Boys State program is a program that the American Legion has been sponsoring in every state for 73 years now. This is our 73rd year, where, again, from every state, boys are selected from the various counties through our post and are sent to their state capital, where they spend a week. Now, we're talking a couple of hundred from the state of Florida now, coming from all of the posts there. And they will spend a week at the Capitol. They will be shadowing the representatives. They will sit in and learn how the laws are made, how the government operates. And they'll probably spend the first day trying to figure out the elevator system in that Capitol if anybody's been there. It's one of the examples of you can't get there from here. How many of you have been through that Capitol? Yeah, you go up to this floor, then you got to change elevators to get to the next one. But once they learn the way around, they also will have guides with them, and they will learn about how to pass laws. There, as an example, they actually get to submit bills at the end of the week there. And over the years, some of the bills that they put together have actually gone into law. One of the most recent examples is, if you've seen driving down the road, the blue reflector in the middle of the road. Have you seen those? Mm-hmm. Do you know what they represent?
Water hydrant.
That's a fire hydrant over there in that tall grass. Don't pull over on it. But it was to help the firemen to find these hydrants. And that was started by some of our young men from Boys State. We also have a girls' state as well, which is another week they go up there. But they do learn a lot during that week. Many of them of political science interest. At the end of the week, they also select from among their group 2 representatives to go to national. And they go to the Washington, D.C., and do much the same thing. And in many cases, they have dinner with the President of the United States. Quite a nice program. Some of our former presidents have been through this. Bill Clinton, he went to Boys State, and look what it did for him. So, all right. I would have been here. We would, if the boys were here, we'd be handing out the certificates. Do we have any pictures of them or anything?
No.
Okay.
They're on the website, but we invited
We've
them.
seen
If
them?
they and their parents couldn't be here, we will invite them again, because we do want to pay some attention to them. But we can't say their names today.
Yes.
The delegate that you chose, and
Right.
you may want to talk a little bit about what you all did together to come to this decision.
Well, a lot of it, of course, was Phyllis's help here through the school system. They selected and narrowed it down to 4 candidates, at which time then myself and a little board of about 5 of us interviewed them. And we were, during the interviews, just taken back by the quality of the students here. We had 2 from, well, I'll give you their names now. We had 2 students from Crescent City,
City High School.
and that would be Jeremiah Gilliard and Nathaniel Miller. And then we had 1 from Interlochen, and that was Oscar Martinez. And then our winner from QI Roberts, final pick, was Owen Meeks. And this was a very difficult, we all were saying how difficult it was to pick one of these fine gentlemen. But Owen Meeks will be going. If he is unable to make it, then we have 2nd, 3rd, and 4th positions we call alternates, and they will send them. Also, if another post has a boy that cannot make it, I say boy, these are called Boys State, but these are really great young men, very mature. If another post is unable to send one of theirs, they can pull one of our alternates. So there's a possibility we could have more than one going. But that is the program, and we couldn't have done it without Ms. Criswell and the help of the school system here. I think this is the first time that we have done it this way, right?
Yes.
When we got
We
together.
work very closely together with our principals at the high schools to narrow down the students that would meet your standards and brought 4 of those students here to this building so that you all could do the interviews. And you are the first vice commander, Stan, at the American Legion. Did you want to introduce the gentleman you have with you?
Oh, certainly, yes.
I think that would be appropriate.
Make them stand too.
Yes,
so we can
I
take
yeah,
a good
I
look
think
at
they
'em.
should come up and stand behind you.
The two gentlemen that are here, we had 4 worked with me as far as the interviews went. And our commander here is Charles Gauthier. And then our other interviewer here is Leonard Foley. Leonard's Korean War Korean and Vietnam War veteran, Army. And Charles and I are both Marine Corps. So I'm sorry the others couldn't be here, but apparently transportation is a problem today. Are there any questions?
Stan, we'd like to thank you all, first of all, for your service to this great country and just the opportunity to work with you and to choose gentlemen from our school system and have you have the opportunity to do the interviews. It was a wonderful experience for all of us, and I think what it did for you was to help you realize that we have amazing students in Putnam County School System and that we have a board that's very proud of what our students accomplish, and there's so much more good going on out there than bad, and it's unfortunate that we only really hear about the bad, which is, not even 10% of what actually happens. But your experience you can carry back to the other members of the American Legion, and certainly we would want everybody that's ever been in any of our military service to know how much we appreciate their service and how much we appreciate their continued service by working with the youth here in Putnam County. It's just been a wonderful experience for all of us. And these young men are fine representatives. Actually, one of them was chosen recently to attend RILA, which is Rotary's Youth Leadership Academy. So again, they have discovered these young men and the qualities that they have and the leadership that they provide at their high schools. And so we're very excited about that and very happy to have you all here today. We will check with these young men and see if there's another date that would be more convenient for them to come, because certainly we want to honor them. Owen Meeks, as he said, will be representing you all and us this summer, and the others are alternates and are available for other posts if they need to be. And actually, though, one of them will be going to Rotary's Youth Leadership Academy this summer. So we're just very proud of them and very happy to have worked with you and look forward to doing that again next year. And thank you all
We
for
do as
being
well.
here very much.
Thank you.
Boys State has always been a big deal, and I think it's happened for years. In fact, Tommy Clay Jr. is in the audience today. Weren't you and Walt Walker the Boys State representatives in 1970? Seems like I remember a picture of you all getting on a bus to go to Boys State. That's been a long time ago, but
I just told her I had to turn it down for some reason.
you did.
I think I took your place.
Yeah, no, I don't think that happened.
I don't think so.
Yeah, right. Tommy, we appreciate your being here today. But I know Walt Walker, and there was another young man from 1970 that I remember well, because the newspaper, who still continues to cover this, had a huge picture on the front page of the 2 young men boarding the bus for Boys State. So that was in 1970. That's a long time ago. But that's just to say that Boys State has been a very vital part of our high schools for a lot of years, and we appreciate that you all are continuing that tradition. So thank you so much for being here
I
today.
couldn't go, but I had to stay, and I was tutoring Tommy Clay and Taylor Douglas on how to read. So anyway, I taught them as a student tutor. But
Anyway,
Yeah, Ms.
thank you all
Crawford was
very
our
much
teacher,
for being
yeah.
here today.
Yes, I was.
Okay, we're going to move an item from new business to the presentation, and it would be Ms. Criswell will introduce this lady who is working very hard to bring art skills and interest into our schools. And then we'll vote later on the new business. And that way she doesn't have to sit through all this.
Yes, because that was, is that on the, towards the end, I guess, of our,
Yes, it was.
We went.
Okay, yeah, we did have it under discussion, so I appreciate you moving this. So Sally Jan Smith, if you would come up, please, to the podium. Sally is a local artist, and she does a lot of work with children in Putnam County. And because the state doesn't provide us dollars to do the kind of things we'd like to do with art in our school system, certainly we have it at our high schools, but we don't have at our elementary and middle schools what we'd like to have. And so she has been to Rotary clubs and other community agencies in town and talking about the work that she does. When she spoke to the Rotary group that I belong to, Sunrise Rotary, we were all very impressed. And she had an idea while she was there, and everybody at the meeting pointed at me and said, "There's the superintendent, she can make that happen." And I said, "Well, actually, no, the board gets to make those things happen." And I asked if she would come and speak to you about her idea because it's very exciting. So I'm going to let you tell them all about it.
Well, it began with a dream. I'm actually the art teacher at the Children's Reading Center, and we have a very dynamic after-school art program that I've developed out there, which is also open to all the children in the community. And then I have taught children's arts at the Larimer for many years. I no longer am there because of these other things. So I had begun to dream about the fact that we needed to do something to bring art to more elementary school children in our county. And the dream kind of developed into, well, I'd like to form a nonprofit foundation for arts for children here. And I called it in my head Artworks for the Children of Putnam County. And things went from here to there, and every summer I try to think up an activity for the children, and last year I began a summer camp called Box City. And that's a camp where the children come and they actually build the city of Palatka, their dream city, out of boxes and all recycled materials, and they learn about preservation, architecture, all kinds of things that go into making a city. And we held that at the Larimer last year. And this year we're doing 2 sessions at the Bronson Mulholland House, and it's now sponsored by the City of Palatka and the Historical Society. So we're real excited about that, and I was telling people about that because, of course, we need money. So the other part of my dream was that I thought, because there are so many children in the rural areas and in the city who don't have access to art, that what would be really cool was to have an art bus. And kind of like the old bookmobiles, where we would go around and we would have art on the bus. We wouldn't actually transport students, but we would have it set up so that kids could come on the bus and do an art project and leave with something wonderful and get immersed in the world of creativity, which is a very, very passionate thing for me, is helping children become creative, because in all the studies it shows that children that do art make very vital brain connections that help them in math and science and all the other subjects. So I'm very sad that we don't have more art in our community. So I was talking about the art bus at the Rotary the other day, and then Phyllis said, well, maybe we could get a bus. And I said, okay, well, it went from a dream to maybe reality, which was very frightening and exciting and wonderful. So I'm here to say that we would like very much to have a bus, that we could create this art bus. And one of the summer projects I'd like is for the children to paint the bus and make it a wonderfully happy and exciting thing for them. And that's kind of why I'm here, about the bus.
So what she would like is, when we have a surplus bus, that we could donate it to her, and certainly it continues to help our students, which is what we want, because she would actually take this bus into neighborhoods and she would schedule this. We're starting this, and we have a lot of work to do, but the first step is getting the bus and then developing the schedule and working with local artists who want to help contribute and to actually bring art to the neighborhoods. And to me, that's a very exciting thing. And I really haven't talked to our Director of Transportation, Rodney Simons, to find out if we have a bus that can be surplused. But we know that we do that occasionally. And so rather than putting them on the auction block and selling them, what we're hoping is that in the future, soon, you will be able to surplus a bus and donate it to this art project. And that's why Sally Jan is here today. So, and Mr. Simons, is he not here today? Okay. So what we'll do is check with him, and as soon as we know if we have some surplus buses, then we'll come back to the board and put that on the agenda for them to vote on, so that you can do that. And board, if you wanted to have any discussion about it, this would be the time.
Well, I think it's an amazing idea, and Sally Jan, who is a very dear friend of mine, is so excited about this, and we were talking about it last week or week before last, and it was just like one idea after another, and it's just, the excitement is contagious, and she is a wonderful instructor. I am one of her students in sewing. But she just has a wonderful way with children, and, you know, she advocates for the arts and for children, and I just think this is so exciting.
Yes. I also wanted to add that we had Sally Jane at a PTO meeting at Browning Pierce, and everybody was excited, so we were going to, for the PTO, actually the notice goes out tomorrow that we were going to supplement the costs for the after-school art club, because we do want to, you know, and everybody has the same desire to increase that, and kids get excited about it. We had a couple that do go to Children Reading Center, and they put their hand up, we love going to art class after school, and so it was a great opportunity, and I appreciate her putting in so many hours, because I know it's basically volunteer. There's a fee to cover the costs involved with the art supplies, but I thank you for, you know, getting kids inspired to want to do something new and different, because we have sports and we have this, but it's so neat to have art in an after-school program. So thanks for
Thank
doing
you
that.
very much for having me today.
And I know that Miss Rosemary over at the Larimer Art Center, she is always looking for ways to bring art into the schools, and so I know that they're going to be very supportive, and it really is an exciting endeavor, and I'm just happy to have you come today to tell the board about your dream.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Hopefully, we'll have a lot of grant opportunities as well, so.
I hope so. That would be
fits in
wonderful.
well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I didn't ask earlier, and one thing I do need to clarify, if you want to comment publicly, I should have done this earlier, you need to fill out a card from Pam Douglas over here, Vanna Douglas, and a speaking card, so you can come address the board on any issue of which you may have concern. If you don't, then that's fine. Then Terry Wright did not know that he would be able to make it today. He was detained. He was at VA, and you know, everything's fine, but he just had some things to do and didn't know that he would be back or not. So if he does walk in, you'll know where he was, and I wanted to clarify that as well. So with that, anyone from the public want to pull an item? Hearing none, I'll go to the consent agenda. Board? If anybody want to pull? an
No,
item?
I've had all my questions
I
answered.
had mine on. Good.
Oh, come on.
You pull them.
This is my kind of stuff here. Well, I came in yesterday and Mr. Criswell read me the riot act and told me what was going on, and Rhonda helped me as well, and she didn't read me the riot act. It was all good. I tried to get the business done in advance, and I feel good. So with that, we're going to need a motion for the consent agenda.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right, well, that'll move us
Moving right along.
right along to emergency, and I've got those right here somewhere. There they are. All right, we're now in emergency session. Ms. Crawford, I'm sorry, that scared you.
I know, I should be used to it.
First emergency item is number 1, Southern Light LLC Telecommunications License Agreement and Scope of Work for Installation of Fiber Optics at PCSD Facilities. Justification explanation is time sensitive. Board members have any questions?
I actually did. I remember we talked about this being an issue as far as our internet connection, and I don't remember who made the presentation. Maybe Justin?
Justin.
I just wanted to know, like, the time, I mean, if it's all the schools, what the time frame is, exactly what we're, you can come up, sorry. I don't want to bother you too much, but I know that one of the main complaints, especially during FSA, is connectivity, and we can't do this when our computers aren't, you know, always active. And I don't know if that's even going to address this, so this may not be the same area.
Okay, so the back in January, when we brought the fiber project to you, this is basically the company that's going to be installing the fiber optics. It's giving them rights to basically enter the building
Oh,
and
okay.
install that connection, which still is on course to be ready by July 1.
And they're all going to be screened appropriately. We're on course still to get like 90, 95, something like that paid for us.
Paperwork's been submitted, and we're waiting to receive the approval letters.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
I make a motion to approve the emergency item, Southern Light license agreement and scope of work.
Well,
second
we've
it.
already had a motion and a second, but now we've got another motion from Ms. Cummings and a second.
No, we didn't.
We didn't? I must be dreaming. Okay, and a second from Ms. Jorgensen. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next is an overnight trip for Palaca High School Junior ROTC drill team. Justification explanation that is time sensitive.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That takes us out of emergency session. Well, Pam, let me tussle on through here and see what else we got. New business, we had the request for when it comes, or if we have one available, a surplus bus. And,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me.
what do we, the board, think about approving it on the next agenda? Because we'd have to say discussion, input, and approval. Approving it, that when and if we have because it's us that saw her present, and if for any reason is, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
I don't have a
if it's
problem
on the
with
next,
Unless Pam.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did leave off that wording.
That's fine.
In my mind, you would approve the concept, and then, you know, if one became available, but in
We
the
wouldn't
past
have
with
to
road
approve it
neighbors,
again.
We've done like a resolution that says the board is donating a surplus bus.
That's great.
But I'll find out from the attorneys exactly if and when we get the surplus. Is that?
that's, yeah, if and
I
when.
think
Right,
we have a
'cause-
consensus that, is that correct? Ms. Cummings,
Absolutely,
Ms.
yeah.
Crawford?
But like I think Kathy said, it could, we don't have a time. It could be 6 weeks, 6 days, or 6 months. and
6
we didn't-
years.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that our board is supportive now so that when it does become available,
Okay.
there'll be no question.
Well, I understood that to be the superintendent's saying. I mean, Mr. Simons obviously would have to have spare buses in case one breaks down. But anyway, yeah, that's a good idea, so that's fine. Okay, we have a consensus on that, so. Now we need a consensus to advertise amendment to policies 5610 and 5611.
Advertise?
Advertise.
And chair says advertise, so we'll advertise. Budget amendments for February 2016. Yes. Do you have any questions?
You do have before you the budget amendments for February. Not a lot of activity as far as change in the budget. The general fund brought in the capital outlay dollars and raised $8,900, the 5K sprint for students. In the capital projects, they had the capital outlay dollars of the $5,251. And other than that, the only increase was the SIG grant had a budget increase in the special revenue fund of it should be $227,732.46. Other than that, the only changes were departments and schools moving money between different objects or functions. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, Ms. Odom, I know you're very conservative, and I appreciate that. It says we have the unreserved fund balance of $19,000.
Right,
Which always scares the heck out of me. But I know that you're conservative, so there.
right. And it'll, at June 30th, amounts will hopefully roll back. And
Right.
we still have some monies in other categories that, might not have to be used, the FEFP cuts. And we've got the 3% mandated also. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Rhonda, while you're up, I know this is kind of out of order here, but we had some questions that came. I guess we can call you up under the board reports, or I probably will, to address the audit questions. So
Okay.
I'll call you back up in a few minutes.
No problem.
Okay?
And Mr. Chairman, for the record, we do need to mention the item that was pulled from consideration.
G3.
Okay.
It's the MOU.
That would have been on the consent agenda, so I'm not sure if the policy that was on with that item. And it's just that one portion of that item.
Oh,
The MOU.
The MOU?
We voted yes, and the rest of it was.
I thought
pulled.
the
saw that
MOU was
somewhere.
already pulled.
No, well,
No, the MOU is what we voted on.
Was it pulled from the consent agenda? Or is it
Okay,
still?
our union guy on
It's being removed from the.
The intent was for it to be pulled, but it was not mentioned, so we wanted to be sure it got into the record.
Right.
Okay.
we'll put it in the.
Let's let Debbie respond to this.
Well, I'm going to ask Mr. Modell
Art
if
can
he'll
do it.
respond as well.
Whatever.
It didn't get pulled. I didn't actually notice that it was on the, pulled. Really, I'm not sure that it would be appropriate for the board attorney to unilaterally pull part of the ratification document. It really probably should have been done as a recommendation to the board to consider that.
That's correct.
So, in my opinion, it hasn't been pulled. PFT does not oppose removing this item from the ratification documents, but based on advice from the FEA bargaining specialists, pulling that particular item would require a revote, another ratification vote for the employees, based on the idea that the board can't just pick and choose which parts to ratify. I don't oppose, PFT does not oppose pulling that particular item and running a ratification vote again with the employees with that item deleted. But the procedure here would have to be we'd have to do it correctly, and I don't think this was the right way to do it.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion that we?
Let's let Charlie explain.
So I just want to be, I understand what you're saying, Mark, is that you would prefer to pull the matter and then have the union vote later on the recommendations and then resubmit it to the board for approval?
The union, the employees don't have to vote first before the board. We kind of always get that idea. The board can vote today on this minus that one item. But to avoid the appearance of an impasse and the board picking and choosing, PFT does not object to that item being pulled. I don't see it benefits current employees and retirees to pull that item. I don't see any difference in the outcome of the ratification vote by the employees with that item pulled. But we would have to run a ratification vote again with the employees so that they are voting on the same thing that the board has voted on.
I was under the understanding it had already been part of it and it would not be considered unilateral, but evidently it is. So we can't, you're right, it would have to go back and do that.
I am really confused.
It said on
I don't
our
mind telling you.
additional and emergency items that it was pulled. And each board member got that. I knew it was pulled when I approved the consent agenda.
Right.
too.
The issue is that,
didn't
again,
say.
the board attorneys don't have the right to
His
pick and
F-
choose
His FEA.
which parts of the ratification documents go to the board. If the board said, we don't like this particular portion, then, we can work on fixing that, and we can work on that. But what just happened is the board just approved most of the ratification document with a particular item pulled, which means they're kind of picking and choosing. Now, again, PFT has no objection to this particular item being pulled, but we got to make sure we do this procedure. So really, there should have been,
So why don't we do this? Why don't we recommend, we can recommend to the board that the item be pulled, subject to ratification from the union, and then it will come back before the board. It will be on the next agenda. Is that acceptable to you? would there be enough time between now and then?
Because there will be grievances filed if we don't, I mean, I'd hate to see that if
Yeah.
we don't do this right.
What I would suggest is that there is no need to delay the board action. The board can vote today on that portion. I've publicly acknowledged that PFT doesn't object to that item being pulled, and the ratification vote would go out again to the employees with the entire package minus that document. And then the board would have already approved, the employees approve, and then it's good then, and we don't have to wait for another board meeting to bring it back here again. That would be my suggestion. We get in this habit of the employees first and then the board, but it doesn't have to be that way, you know.
I understand,
Yeah.
Charlie, and help me hear what you're saying, but it only takes one person to file a grievance. And, you know, I just, of course, we could grieve it if it had to, and I don't want to be negative, but, you know, if things happen, they usually do happen or can happen. But anyway, I'll take the advice of the board attorney on this.
Can I just ask if this one complete page is being deleted from the, or is it just with the changes, the underline and the markouts?
No, what Debbie and I spoke with Rocco, and it was I guess the opinion was that this should be reconsidered, and this was based on something that came from the management side. PFT does not object to pulling this and reconsidering it, but because the employees had already voted to ratify with this included, it would require another vote on the employee side. PFT does not object to this document, that page, being deleted from the ratification materials.
Oh, so it'll be completely deleted.
Right, and both parties agreed to that MOU being deleted from the ratification materials.
Okay.
So maybe maybe the board isn't even clear what pulling that item entailed today.
Well, it said the item was pulled from consideration by the board attorney. That's what it says on our emergency item sheet.
I understand that, but that's not an appropriate procedure for the board attorney to pull individual it's like line item veto, and that doesn't work
That's
for ratification.
unilateral
Yeah.
bargaining, and I understand
So,
that.
I just want to be sure, though, that you and management both agree
That's absolutely correct. PFC
that
and the management team agreed
the
to.
document can be removed,
That's correct.
Correct.
and what would be desirable from your side is that there be a board vote to adopt the agreement minus the page, and then your
Soon as
side
possible.
would come later and ratify it.
Correct.
That.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
okay.
With this
So
change.
David,
With the
make
change.
Kathy will make the motion.
Tell them what's- I'll make a motion that the ratification of the contract does not include the MOU that was listed in item G3. Is that correct?
Need a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Ms. Jorgensen and a second by Ms. Crawford. Any more board discussion?
Maybe just add that it's not just G3 is the entire ratification materials, but specifically mention the retiree
Retiree,
Or the
For the
retiree?
retiree insurance.
Have that in there, that
Correct.
particular MOU.
Could you add that, Pam, please?
All right, we all clear?
retiree insurance benefits.
Clear as
All
mud.
in favor, say, vote aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
So then you will take it back to
We will.
be
We will
ratified. so
conduct,
there's no-
based on the advice of FEA, I was waiting to hear from FEA bargaining
Okay.
specialists whether we needed to run a vote. I don't anticipate any difference in the outcome. In fact, if there was any difference, it would probably be a wider margin of passing, you know, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I believe that concludes us into board member reports. I'll start with Ms. Jorgensen.
Well, I have a suggestion. I saw the internal audit, and I didn't pull it to discuss that way, but I would like to bring it up and remind the board that about a year ago, no, 2 years ago, we decided to hire a board auditor, mainly because of the problems we were having, checks and balances in the schools, etc. Instead of that, Rhonda's department has been trying to handle it, and Rhonda's already understaffed. Why don't we suggest that when allocations are made next year, another staff member, and it doesn't have to be a high-level, high-paid person, but just somebody who knows or could be taught what the schools need to do and what processes need to be in place, again, to free up high-level personnel in her department. And that's just a suggestion I had. You're making a face? No? Kirk? Oh, I thought you were
He always makes
expressing. Oh, I thought you were expressing you going there.
He has a face, yes.
But that's just a suggestion. We wouldn't have to vote on it unless it came before us as an allocation, and I'm talking about maybe next year. And again, it doesn't have to be a high-paid finance person, but just somebody who knows bookkeeping well enough to institute
Right,
and make sure things are
at each of the schools.
tight. Each of the
Yeah.
schools are tight. And the other thing is Solution Center. Fortunately, at the board meeting this morning, we had a seat that we could put one of the students in who will do well. We need, of course, more seats, and we really need to get it down to the 4th and 5th grade level.
It's a shame.
It's a shame, but I think the younger we get
Yeah.
them, the better chance we have of impacting their lives. You know, these 16, 17, 18-year-olds, it's kind of
Right.
hard to turn around that many years of mistreatment or whatever. So the younger we get them, the better, and it's a management thing, of course, but it's successful. One problem at Solution Center, though, is attendance. It's horrific. And here we are in an expulsion hearing, and we want to put them over there, and they say there's no seats, but the attendance is 48%. So they're we can't send, Jenkins has no seats
Well, then they
available.
need to
They're
be booted out
overbooked, but the kids aren't going.
Yeah.
So, the discipline, again, that's a management thing, and Solution Center, we need to get on that. And maybe, one idea was kids who aren't doing well in our traditional classrooms, maybe they want to get into St. Augustine Technical Center. And one of the problems we have is a lot of our students can't pass that TABE test, whatever it is. Maybe we could put kids in there who want to get into St. John's. We could have First Coast Technical Institute. We could have like a wing. So, I don't know, just some changes, but it's still a good alternative. You know, we've had kids graduate from there, and we gotta give as many as we can a chance, but again, the sooner the better. I'm through with my little soapbox.
Ms. Crawford?
Well, I'd like to call Mr. John Chastain up for a second. He's going to help me come on. Because I don't know, John.
You're supposed to turn those cell phones off.
I have my notes in here.
I'm just kidding.
Friday night is the annual Hoedown in P-Town. And it's a very, very exciting thing to be a part of. So I hope you'll tell all your friends and all your friends' kids because it's so much fun. It raises money for our archery team and the FFA, Jenkins FFA. And I've been going for, I think, as long as they've been putting it on. I particularly like bidding on cakes. That's my favorite thing. I took 3 home last year. You can tell, can't you? But there's all kinds of clean, wholesome, fun things to do for our students. They have auctions, they have raffles, businesses, the most amazing gifts that you can try to win. I spent a bunch of money on that and didn't get a thing. But good food, homemade French fries, all the things we love. So I hope you'll try.
We did have fun last year.
Yeah, we did. So I hope you'll try to make it.
Fairgrounds, right?
Fairgrounds.
Great. That's a fun night.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Ms. Cummings?
Alarm clocks. Don't forget, we're trying to keep our kids out of truancy court. So our wonderful Christy May has asked for alarm clocks. I brought mine, so
Oh, I've got a bunch.
even if you're at their yard sale or thrift store, we are always willing to take alarm clocks. So something small that can mean a big difference. So She goes to court and says, I don't have any way to wake up. And she says, well, here you go. Here's an alarm clock. I love it. So practical ways to help our kids. I agree 100% about the Solution Center. I did have a nice discussion with someone that does run the one in St. Johns County, and they wear uniforms. And I mean, I don't know why we couldn't make a policy to say if you're absent this many days, you automatically are going to be you lose your seat, you're going to be expelled. I mean, I don't know how we could put teeth in it, because giving them the option to go to the Solution Center is a huge privilege. And if you're not going to take advantage of that, I mean, I don't know as a board if that's something we want to address with Mr. Weaver, maybe. I don't even know how we would put that in the code of conduct, or.
I don't know, it's hard to incarcerate kids if they're gonna break the law and continue to repeatedly.
But I mean, if
be a danger.
the expulsion committee says you're going to Solution Center, we give you that privilege, why can't the
Instead of
expulsion
being
center say,
expelled.
okay, this kid's been absent 10 days, you're coming back to the expulsion committee, and then we can either recommend
Well,
for.
it's not just kids in lieu of expulsion. I mean, Jenkins, because they never have enough seats.
Yeah.
Listen to this, they're sending to solution centers, and when they get them back, after so many referrals, they're up for expulsion.
Yeah.
And these are, I mean, I'm not saying it's okay that they get the referrals, but they're certainly not expellable
Right.
offenses, none of them.
Over something.
But there's nothing else they can do, because there
Right.
aren't enough seats. But if we're at 48% or 50%, that means half the seats are empty.
That's
We
what-
need to be filling them, yeah.
That
And I don't
concerns
know
me.
if we need board policy, or it can just be policy over there. They instituted their own program where the kids can get out early.
Yeah.
So they can institute their own program. 70% attendance, so you're out. At 80%, when you fall to 80%, your parents get a note, because at 70%, you've lost privilege to come here.
I would think at the expulsion hearing that you would tell them then.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you are continuously absent, at X point, you will no longer have this privilege, and you will then be expelled.
But 90% of the kids over there aren't from expulsion. They're over there, the schools send them over there for various discipline problems.
Right, it's not
Most of the
just
kids over there.
But
So
the ones
there's
that
only
come
a
to the
few.
expulsion
Right.
hearing
Yeah,
should be
they're the one-
told.
Well,
Yeah.
they should all be told. They have to come to
Yeah,
school.
if you don't show up,
If
you
don't show
lose,
up,
you
you
lose
lose
the
the
privilege,
privilege.
and you are expelled. I
same
mean,
way in
the
regular
whole
school.
idea of the
You gotta-
expulsion hearing and sending them to Solutions is in lieu of expulsion. They get to attend there. If they're not going to attend, then they're going to be expelled. If that's made very clear at the expulsion hearings, anybody can be sick and be out a day or so, but if you are continually out, so probably we need to talk with the attorneys about if we would have any issues making that part of the expulsion hearing. I don't know if it.
You can put conditions on the expulsion.
Okay, so it's not something that we have to bring to the board to add to the policy. They can make it a condition of the expulsion hearing.
But the kids over there, 1 out of 20 are from the expulsion hearing, and the other 19 aren't showing up 48%.
So
Yeah.
you're saying that some don't come to the expulsion committee, they just go right from the school to the
Right,
solution
most of
center.
them.
So the majority, that would be something we would have to discuss with, I feel like code of conduct, because
Well,
Travis
tell them if they get
Travis
expelled if they
Weaver,
don't come.
because the deans would have to know, okay, we're sending you to the solution center, and if you're not here 70% of the day or whatever, but how would you recommend
And it's up to the board, but it may be that
procedurally, or?
you would want the student to come back to the expulsion committee for a final review,
Right.
because there could be certain circumstances where the expulsion committee could forgive those absences under.
Correct, if there was a
Certain
doctor's
reason.
note, yeah. So they would actually, the ones that come right from the school, skip the expulsion committee. If they are absent, would we have to put that in our code of conduct to say, if you are sentenced to the solution center and you miss more than 50 whatever percent, you will then be referred back to the expulsion committee?
Preferred for expulsion, because
Yeah.
these kids, most of them haven't been up for expulsion. They've just been taken out of the school and put over there.
Yeah.
And I don't see why the school can't make its own rule saying 70% attendance, 80% attendance, so we pull in your parents.
Right.
And then every kid that comes there gets handed in writing You have to be here 70% of the time.
Sign a
Or
contract.
you lose the privilege. We need the seats.
Yeah.
For other kids that want to sit in
I
front
mean,
of the
that's
computer
certainly
and
one,
catch up.
that's certainly one solution, because then they're out quicker and that frees up the seats, because when they see on the roll that these, oh, we're full, but only 50% are there, I mean, that's,
Exactly.
that right there is a huge budget, you know. What we're trying to say, oh, let's spend more money to expand more classrooms, but if the classrooms we have are only half full because of the attendance, then it's like, well, let's make them come and serve their sentence and get out, rather than lingering.
Well, it's, Solution Center is sometimes in lieu of expulsion, but it's also that last step we take before
Yeah.
expelling. So it's a privilege, and, as long as it's made clear up front, these are the rules. We could put them in uniform. I mean,
Yeah.
you make rules.
Right.
The school makes its rules. Our high schools have rules, and the students are expected to follow them.
Absolutely.
Same thing over there. It's a kind of a last chance
Right.
before expulsion.
Right.
Or they've been referred from
Right, and they're
expulsion.
not taking
And they're
advantage of it.
exactly, so let's give the seats to kids who are willing to take advantage of it.
I agree.
And be able maybe to pass the TABE test and get over into First Coast Technical Institute.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of students interested in that.
That's true.
I will say that I'm more hard line on this. The rules are rules, and you can write rules all day long, and people are going to choose to break them. And there's a difference between a child that makes a couple of foolish mistakes and can be salvaged, and one that does something so egregious that you put them in a classroom next to a child that's trying to get an education, and you're doing the other children a disservice. So some kids forfeit the right to attend public school, and that's just my feeling, and I'm a little more hard line on it because I used to teach an alternative class when the state first developed them, and I dealt with the drugs and the weapons and all that stuff. So it's something we can look at, but I do agree that if they don't attend and they're not attending and they're keeping a school from using it to
Yeah.
remove a problem that's keeping kids from learning at their school.
Exactly.
That's
It's
a
not
problem.
just that. If a child commits one of the expulsion offenses and it's so bad, then that child not only needs counseling, but they need to be out of our public schools and no longer a threat to our children. But that's me.
Well, safety is always
Paramount. Yes.
Right.
Okay. Ms.
Last
Cummings?
thing, we do have the run, the 5K sprint for students, Feed the Need, coming up. So this is a great opportunity to get in shape and sponsor and help the snack pack programs on the weekend. And thank you, Nikki Hawthorne, for doing that.
When is it?
Yeah.
You want to run? It
I
is
figured that.
May 7th, so I'll
I can
announce it at the
run,
next
yeah.
one. It's a great way for businesses. You get your name on our T-shirt, and they last forever. So if you want to sponsor, it's very reasonable to sponsor the race, and that's a great thing. I think that's all.
Okay.
Thank you, all the teachers who worked so hard on the FSA.
Absolutely.
I hate the fact that our poor little, I mean, it's just done, but wow, it's a lot of tension. And third grade's done, I believe, but fourth and fifth, hang in there and do the best you can.
Well, that leaves me, and I'd first like to thank Sandy Fordner for being here, and Pete Taylor, and Bob Taylor, excuse me. Anyway, you guys are here, and we looked at your packets, and thank you for what you're doing. I think you got it coming along over there. My next would be, I went to the fair, and I've talked to the superintendent, and I got to looking, and we've talked for several years, she and I have, on this issue, but at some point in the future, she had some ideas and some plans, and I concur on maybe trying to upgrade our agricultural facilities, our ag farm out in Francis, and perhaps include the property behind Jenkins Middle School as laboratory agricultural sites, and do some things with those to try to improve and update our opportunities for our young people. And I talked to Ms. Huff back there, who's nodding her head, and there's so many things, so many kids involved. It had to be 1,000 people every night of the sale and show, It's just incredible how the kids, all kids learn in different ways and all kids have different interests. But I mean, they learn business, they learn what it takes to grow an animal and how much feed it costs. They have to keep journals. They do so much stuff. It's really important, you know, and it's like art. We try to be all things to all kids and do what we can, but I think the superintendent will be coming with some, or she can respond to this when she speaks, because I think she feels very strongly as well about that. And the last thing I would like is for Rhonda to come up briefly and to just address the article that was in the Palatka paper yesterday and kind of give us your take on where we are.
Okay. To begin with, when you first said something about me discussing the audit, I wasn't sure which one we were talking about, because the one presented to you today in your packet was the internal account audit that we just had a workshop on a month ago or 2 weeks ago or something like that, and we failed to put it on the agenda to be approved the same day, so we brought it forth. And I will say that that is for last year's findings, and since this time, we have worked very hard to implement a plan that will hopefully help. You know, some of the findings were that bank deposits weren't made within 5 working days at a school, or collections in a teacher's classroom were not turned in by the very next day at the school. And they talked about separation of duties. They always ask for that, but as you know, as a district, we cannot afford to put enough people in every school so that the person that, you know, deposits the money. Yeah, so we do have compensating controls for that, and that was a prior article, and you had mentioned that Shannon said we acknowledged that separation of duties would strengthen internal controls over cash transactions, but that we did provide compensating controls. And this year we did implement the, every school began using on July 1st the EPS school internal accounts software, and that allows my district staff to have district-wide access to all accounts, and we run financial reports at any time for review and oversight. We do require also a monthly bank reconciliation that the principals have to review and sign off on and get to our department on a timely basis. So I am briefly talking about the internal accounts to begin with. And we've also, we began, the 4 accountants in the office have been visiting random spot checks at every school for every month now. We've been welcomed with open arms. Bookkeepers, or if it's an elementary school and they don't have a dedicated bookkeeper, the secretaries, they've asked questions. We've pointed out ways that we've thought that could help them and to keep these similar findings from occurred. Several principals have had staff meetings where they've addressed these areas, and we truly feel like it's going to be improved this year. Of course, we all know there will probably always be findings, whether it's internal or where it's district-wide. And what a finding is just a recommendation on a way to do things better, and we will certainly always take that into account and try to do our best with that. But you were talking instead about the one, you wanted me to speak about the one that was in the paper, and I don't have that with me, but I just went to the Auditor General's website and called it up on my phone. I will say, I want y'all to know that the published report, the Auditor General's office has to publish the report by March 31st each year. And I worked with them until 5:20 on the afternoon of the 30th, getting the last minute things that they needed in order to get that published. And they did publish it on the 30th, and I think you all were probably emailed a copy at the same time that I received my final copy. Normally, a school district has 30 days to respond to the preliminary and tentative findings, and they begged me to get it done in 2 weeks because they stayed so long that they were behind schedule and couldn't meet their deadlines. So again, they didn't get it published till 5:20 on the 30th, and they are already scheduled to come back here April 12th, a week from today, for the entrance interview. And David, you've been invited as the chair, and you'll have to be there. We have a different crew coming in now. The Gainesville branch is taking over because Jacksonville had to take on Duval, because that school district is only required to have the Auditor General every 3 years based on their size, and we have to have them every year. So since they were going to be overworked, they put us back with the Gainesville branch, and we do have the entrance interview on April the 12th. Now, talking briefly about that audit, and we'll talk about the newspaper article a little bit also. I want to go to the summary report of the financial statements. It said, our audit disclosed that the district's basic financial statements were prepared fairly in all material respects in accordance with prescribed financial reporting standards. And then when they go to the summary of report on internal control and compliance, this year, for the first time in many, many years, there were no material weaknesses. There were no significant deficiencies. It says our audit did not identify any deficiencies in internal control over financial reporting that we consider to be material weaknesses. The results of our test disclosed no instances of noncompliance or other matters that are required to be reported under governmental auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. However, we noted certain additional matters is summarized below. So all we had this year in the general audit, and I would love not to have anything, let me say that first, were additional matters. It was a clean, unqualified opinion, and that you can also find that in the report where they say it's an unqualified opinion, which means it's presented fairly in all material respects. The additional matters are things that have cropped up in prior findings also. The first, as similarly reported in the last two audit reports, the board has not established a documented process to identify instructional personnel entitled to differentiated pay using the factors prescribed in state law. We've had for many years, ever since it became in the statutes, we have had differentiated pay, and it's been on all of our salary schedules, and it told what areas you could get differentiated pay in, but they felt like we needed a better procedure so that all employees were aware that this was available to them and what they needed to do. And please correct me, you two, if I'm off that track. So we had to actually work with the union on this, and we do now have a documented process, and the auditors have looked at it and approve of it. But because we didn't get it done by June 30th, it had to show up in the audit report again. But the documented process has now been provided to the auditors. It's been provided to the legislative staff. I don't expect to see this finding again, because I think we've done everything that they, and more, that they ask of us. Oh, my phone went dark on me, I talked too much. The next additional matter, finding number 2, the district needs to enhance controls over health insurance plan retiree benefits. A similar finding was noted in our report 2015-163. This finding has also currently been taken care of, so we should not see it again. We had some separate agreements with some retirees where they got more than the $3,500 that is in union contract. And currently, as of January 1st, everybody is back on the same exact amount. So this should not be a finding again. They did not ask us to, on this one, to try to pay anything back. Just notify the retirees what your premium's going to be. And we've got all that taken care of. Finding 3, the district did not always perform required background screenings for contract workers. I think we have 3 different contracting firms that provide temps or subs for us, and they only had problems with one, and that was Remedy Staffing. And Debbie, I think you've got that, you've talked with Marshall, and we've now got everything that we need. He did background screening, he just didn't always release it to us. Okay. He's now releasing everything. All right, so we do not feel that will be a finding again. Finding number 4, district controls for monitoring school bus drivers continue to need improvement. And what this would be is like if they did random checks on a bus driver, they might find a bus driver that had a suspended license, and it might be suspended because they have dropped their personal car health insurance. I'm sure there's other reasons too, but Rodney has taken this on personally. In the past, it's been several people in his office have been responsible for going onto the website and, looking at, I'm not sure really how they do it. Debbie, can you help me here? I don't want to. Okay, so now that he's being the one that is taking responsibility for this, hopefully this will not be a finding. Can't promise that it won't be, but we certainly hope that no one will fall under the rugs there. And the other 4 findings in the general audit all had to do with IT, and Alice is working very hard on getting all the documented plans that they want in place, a data loss prevention, developing a comprehensive written IT disaster recovery plan, being sure that when someone leaves that their access is cut off. So she's got something, we've met several times, my staff and her staff, and I think she's got something in place, and she has taken over that office, as we all know now. She's the new Director of Information Technology, and I think she'll be able to clear up all of these findings. And before I get to the federal findings, I would invite anyone listening, if you go to the Auditor General's website, randomly pick out 10 or 12 school districts and look at their audit, there are always going to be findings. I have never in my 20 years seen a school district that didn't have findings. And a lot of times they are going to be similar because they look at everything, but there's certain areas that they're going to drill down in this year. And so it might be that several school districts will have a very similar finding. These IT findings have been, you see almost exact wording on several school districts. Now, I think what we want to talk about is, and it was in the paper also, is the federal findings. There were 3 federal findings, and I'm going to save the biggest one for last, but one of them was our school food department had too much money. Their fund balance was too big, and I wish, I truly wish that the district as a whole had that problem. So they had to develop a plan to spend down their money. And I think one of the consequences, I don't know, is Nikki still here? One of the consequences, if they didn't spend down the money, is that you have to lower prices of breakfast and lunch. We give it free anyway, so there's nothing we could do in that regard. But they do have a plan that they've submitted and got approved by the Department of Agriculture, and I think they might be putting in some new serving lines and things like that, and maybe even this new artwork and the uniforms and stuff. So all that's part of the plan for them to spend down some of their fund balance. Another finding had to do with 2 of our charter schools expanded what they considered significantly, and when you expand significantly, you're supposed to get a little bit more Title I funds. And we hadn't had that happen in the past, and I think since the audit, that's been taken care of, and we shouldn't have that issue. What they do is they request if you didn't do something, you either pay it back, you fix it, you do whatever you need to do, and that's been fixed since then. And the last item, and this is one that Tracy and Randy and I worked on for a long time, and it has to do with health insurance for our employees. As you all know, the district, we're going to talk about last year, not this year. The district last year contributed $3,500 per employee. We have a benefits package out there where the employee can choose whether they want health insurance, and if they don't want health insurance, they choose hospital indemnity or accidental insurance. The board contributes $3,500 per employee. It went up this year, but last year they contributed $3,500. Over the years, ever since I've been here also, not saying just because it's been done one way the whole time makes it right, but it hasn't been questioned before. All employees, general fund, NEFAC employees that have our insurance, federal employees, whether they took the health insurance or not, their account strip at every payroll got charged for their health insurance premium. As soon as the payroll's done, the money is moved over into the group insurance fund. The group insurance fund is then used to pay all the bills, the Blue Cross and Blue Shield bills, and now it'll be the United Healthcare bills. What they're questioning is that several employees decided not to take our health insurance, so they had to choose hospital indemnity or disability, and Tammy makes them choose one. Whether they want it or not, they have to choose a package. That costs the district a lot less than the $3,500. And so what we've always done, we've always had an insurance committee, and the insurance committee has voted, well, these people that don't accept our health insurance, they don't get that $3,500 in their pocket. That's never been the procedure or the policy. So their money that's going into the group insurance fund is then used to give every employee that's got health insurance another $1,000. And they're saying because the grant did not write it in to, any of the grants didn't have it written into their budget, that the additional $1,000 could be, given to federal employees, or didn't have it written per se that it just said health insurance $3,500. So they're not worded in such a way, well, if they don't take our health insurance, we can't charge them $3,500. They told me point blank, they've already talked to Al Ricky Smith, that all the Auditor General can do is put out proposed findings and their recommendations on fixing it. But then it has to go up a step. They just put out what they feel like needs to be done, and then we have to work with DOE, US DOE, the feds, to clear up the findings. A lot of times, these proposed findings go by the wayside. Once we tell them what we're doing and they agree with our methodology, then they just issue a resolve letter saying these findings have been cleared. At times, just like last year when we had to pay 15% of Ms. Buckles' salary from the general fund instead of all being charged to Title I because she works on several things, that was a finding, so we started paying it. And that year that it was in the finding, we had to write a check from the general fund to Title I and reimburse Title I for that 15%. So if it comes about that we have to pay back any of this, in the audit, they're questioning $300,000. Before it went to their reviewers, it was only $100,000 because they were already looking at all the federal employees that got additional $1,000 and things like that. So they had brought it down themselves with just one matter. But when the reviewer said, because the grant documents did not specifically say we can charge it even if they don't have health insurance, they brought the whole matter into the finding. I'm very confident that, we can get it down significantly lower than this. I would like to say we could get it totally out of the way, but if it so happens that we didn't have enough federal employees that got the $1,000 to be a big enough amount to offset the $3,500 from the federal employees that didn't want it, then there might be a payback. But it would be from the group insurance fund where all the money is transferred to, would pay back the federal funds. And we won't know the results of that for several months. This whole process, it'll start with DOE, then it'll go to whoever's in charge, help me out here, of the Title I grants and everything. All right, so it'll go through several review processes, and the people in the audience know I'm always after them for another statement, because one more person will question it, and so we've got to provide more information. So we'll eventually get a finding, but I do think one thing in the article did say that $1,000 questions came from a pot of federal money, and since then I've emailed Asia, and she's going to do a clarification in the paper tomorrow to let us, to straighten that out and everything. But we talked for a long time, and I talk fast most of the time, so. But I put it in writing to her, and she's going to put something in the paper tomorrow. I just don't want there to be thinking that truly we're taking federal money that we shouldn't. I still feel like the process is a correct process, and again, we've been doing it ever since we quit being self-insured. We haven't changed the way we've been doing it, so it's a finding this year. It's never been before, but that's the way that auditing works. They try to look at everything, and they do look at everything, but they're going to gear in each year on certain things and spend more time on. So we hope that we will clear up that finding. Was there any other questions? We really haven't. We just got the audit. It was just published late afternoon on the 30th, so we really haven't delved down deep and dirty into it, but I know you all got a copy of it. In the past, we haven't brought that for board approval. The internal account has to be brought for board approval, but it doesn't say in statute that this one needs to. But if we want to have a workshop on it, if you want me to bring it and put it on the consent agenda, ever how y'all want to handle it in the future, I'll be happy to do. But we just all got our hands on it, so that one hasn't come before you yet. I know you all got an email though, so.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this report is very detailed.
Sure is.
If you're not an accountant, it's hard to understand, but it does come from the Auditor General. And I think that what it says here bears hearing again. This is very important. Rhonda and Shannon and the whole finance department do a outstanding job. They are employees of this school district, and they live in Putnam County and have for years. Their desire is never to harm the board or the district in any manner, or to do anything that other than spending money according to law. And that's what they do. And I've never worked with anyone quite like Rhonda and Shannon and this entire finance department. They do a tremendous, outstanding job. They're on top of things all the time, and they are quick to come and tell us if we forgot to sign something or if we've done something inadvertently, because none of us intentionally do anything that would be thought of in a negative or illegal manner. That's not our purpose here. And I think at the beginning on this very first page, where the summary of their report states very clearly, our audit disclosed that the district's basic financial statements were presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with prescribed financial reporting standards. Our audit did not identify any discrepancies in internal control over financial reporting that we consider to be material weaknesses. Those statements right there tell you that they are doing a great job, and there is nothing. These guys are with us 10 months out of the year. There is very little time during the year that we don't have auditors here looking at everything we do. What happens with us is separate to the city and the county, because our money is separate and different, and the rules that we follow with the state and the federal government are slightly different than what the city and the county do. And this is public record, and it very clearly states that we are doing what we're supposed to do. The minor things that they found were, for the most part, not monetary, particularly the three that had to do with the IT department and looking at security and looking at making sure that everybody that is no longer employed doesn't have access. So there are things, they look at all kinds of things, but I think it's very important that everybody understand that this is a clean audit, one of the best we've ever had, and that says a lot about what Rhonda and Shannon and the finance department do together. They work very hard. I am very blessed to have them because of the work that they do, and I know I can count on them to always do the right thing. They have no reason to want to do anything that's illegal. That wouldn't even make sense. They live here, their families are here. They would never do anything to embarrass their families.
I worked too hard for that CPA.
I don't think
So I just think because of people in the community that want to cast aspersions and look for negatives and try to say that anybody that's in any city or county agency is out to do things illegally, that's not the case. We love our community. We try every day to do exactly what we're required to do by law and what most benefits the children of Putnam County. And I just think that needs to be said out loud. And thank you, Rhonda and Shannon, for the job that you do. I really appreciate it.
All right, moving on to the board attorney.
Everything is going well in the legal department.
Okay. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you. Several things. First of all, yes, May 7th, Food Service is having the fun run. Hope you'll come out, put that on your calendar. March of Dimes is having the Walk for Babies this Saturday. And that'll start around 8 o'clock, and lots of fun. And they'll be counting the money that our schools have raised on Friday night, and the culmination of our March of Dimes and all the effort that goes into that. And again, thanking all of our schools, our principals, teachers, and other employees who get involved and raise money for March of Dimes. They do a tremendous job. Also, the Hoedown in P-Town on Friday night, we always look forward to that from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock. It's a really fun time. I'll get there, but I'll probably be late. One of our Interlochen High School seniors will become an Eagle Scout on Friday night, and Zach Eason, I'm really proud of him and the work that he's put into this. It's a really difficult thing to accomplish, and I'll be attending that and speaking at that on Friday evening. Communities and schools would like you to know that April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, and Friday, this coming Friday, is Wear Blue Day. Wear blue for child abuse awareness, please, on Friday, if you can remember to do that. On Friday, I believe, or maybe it's tomorrow. Renee, are you still here? We have construction days that are coming up. Renee is taking bus loads of our students to construction days, and after it's over, we'll have her do a little report on what that was all about and how excited we are about that. We also have this nice little insert in the paper that Kurt Collier works on with our Palatka Daily News. It gives you all kinds of information, all the positive, wonderful things that are happening. Well, we can't cover all of them, but they do a great job of talking about all the different things happening in the schools, all the activities and events. That comes out the third Thursday every month. And is it last Thursday? Last Thursday every month. So look for that in the Palatka Daily News. That's a wonderful addition to the newspaper that we do continuously. And thank you to Kurt for putting that together. William D. Mosley Elementary School is doing a mural fundraiser. And this is something that is not part of our budget, not part of normally what we do. And they're looking for donations from the community. What they want to do is this mural. If you'd like information, you can get it from Mosley or come here to the district and we'll give you a copy. Of course, William D. Mosley, the school, Mosley Elementary, was named after our first governor. He was the first elected governor of Florida, and they would like to do a mural that commemorates he and the school. So if you're interested, you can come out and participate in that. Let's see. I'm trying to talk fast because I know y'all are ready to be done, but
Miss Crawford doing all the
yeah, that's what it is. We also had, I had an email from a parent, and she insisted that I bring this to you all. And she said, my daughter's bus driver, Marta Arthur, is amazing. She said, I posted on Facebook that my daughter was having her first softball game on Friday night, and Ms. Arthur, the bus driver, saw the post and came to the game. She is always sweet and loving to the children, to her child in particular, and she said, as a parent, I appreciate it so much, and I wanted Ms. Arthur to get some sort of recognition for always going the extra mile and beyond, and for the love that she has for the kids that is so evident. So I promised Ms. Gilman that I would share that with you today. She was very excited about all that, and that's one bus driver that one parent took the time to write about. We have many bus drivers as well as teachers and other employees who do so much for our children, and you just really never hear about it. Also, there's an all-county student art show. The Arts Council of Greater Palatka presents the annual all-county student art show featuring art by Putnam County students during the month of April. They said, we want to make you all aware this show will be available for students to show off their work produced during the 2015-16 school year and win great prizes. And this information was given to us by Evelyn Snyder, who is the gallery chairman. The opening of the show includes a morning reception for the winners and their parents and teachers on Saturday, April 16th. Awards, ribbons, and art gifts will be presented at the Saturday morning reception with breakfast sponsored by Seminole Electric Cooperative from 10:30 to 11:30. All students are invited to submit artwork for the show, and there will be 4 divisions of competition: high school, middle school, grades 3 through 5, and grades kindergarten through 2. So that's coming up also, and we're excited about that. We also, the last couple of things I just want to mention real quickly and would like your input and maybe some direction for our attorneys. We know that EDGE, our high school charter school, had a board meeting last week. We have heard that they decided to rescind their charter. That information should be brought to you as a board, and because they did it last week and we've heard nothing, I would like for you as the board to direct our attorney to see what information they could get and to work with EDGE to have them come give a complete report to the board and what that means and what it is that their board discussed and what they ultimately decided. You as a board should have that information. And let me remind everybody that a charter school is a public school, but the charter schools are not Putnam County District schools. We don't have control over them. We don't choose the teachers or the principal or the curriculum or anything. They do that with their own board. But you are still responsible to the state for what they do financially, and our staff services department is responsible to make sure that their teachers are state of Florida certified. Those are the responsibilities we have, and if they are going to rescind their charter that you approved, then we need to know, you need to know, have they told their teachers, have they told the parents and the students, what does this mean exactly? They need to come and do a report to the board, and that needs to happen. I wish it would have happened today. It needs to happen as soon as possible. We need to
Do
know.
we know for a fact that they voted to rescind the charter, or is this like?
We were told by someone who visited the meeting that they did, but that person cannot give us that information officially. That should come from their board. So because we're hearing that, I have real concern about what is going to happen now, what information has been shared with their teachers and parents, and how quickly that's going to happen if it has not happened. And certainly you as a board need to know this, because it will affect those students. If they are rescinding their charter, and that means they don't plan to be open next year, that does affect those students and does affect our schools. So it's information that we need to have, that they need to present to you. So what I'm asking is the board would direct our attorney to contact them and to, on your behalf, ask them to come and give a full report to you.
Mr. Douglas, if you take care of being so directed to look into that,
You can report back.
you can report back.
Or have them report.
Yeah.
And the last request that I have, also a directive that I would like you to give to our attorney, your attorney, he represents you. We've seen in the newspaper an article about Mr. Pickens and the collegiate high school that he plans to do at St. Johns River State College. It sounds like a wonderful opportunity for high school students in Putnam County. There's also been an editorial in the paper saying what a wonderful opportunity this is. And so I would like for the attorney to get in touch with Mr. Pickens and see if he's going to come and give a full report to the board also. If he plans to do this starting in August, it does affect our high schools. He would be seeking students from our high schools to come to his high school. If that happens and he registers students or plans to do so, we probably need to know when that's going to happen. We also need to know after that registration how many students that's going to involve, because that will mean a loss of teachers at our high schools. And every year we have teachers who retire or move. So what I would like to be able to tell the high school principals is to hold off hiring teachers for next year until we see how many students plan to leave our high schools to attend his collegiate high school. And the details on this collegiate high school certainly is in statute, and he has every right to do this. And it's, again, a wonderful opportunity for our students to go who choose to go and who meet his qualifications to come to a collegiate high school, part of which I think is a 3.0 grade point average. And so if they intend to do this, you as a board need to know, I need to know, so that we can make adjustments in our school district so it won't adversely affect us financially. And certainly we don't want to hire teachers and then have to turn around and let them go because we don't have enough students at our high schools to warrant hiring those teachers. It's just a kind of a common sense and a kindness kind of act so that we don't move forward doing things that we're going to have to undo at some point.
Madam Superintendent, do you know if it's the same application process that we have to, so that's a long process.
I was just gonna say that.
I mean, is the collegiate charter, and that might be a Danny Hood question?
I don't believe it's called collegiate charter. It's just a collegiate high school.
Oh.
It's not a
No, it's not a charter. He does not have to apply for a charter.
Okay.
In fact, my
a
understanding
directive
is
from
he
the
does not, yes, it's an actual law directive from the legislature that all of our state colleges will have a collegiate high school. Now, we have done that up till this point through dual enrollment and early admissions. And I know that in St. Johns County and Clay County, he's actually doing a collegiate high school on the high school campuses. The one that he's starting in Clay County this year will be at Orange Park High School. He wants to do, my understanding is he wants to do one separate to our high schools, and those students would be 9th, 10th, and 11th graders in a building that he would lease, that those students would actually be considered his students. They'd be going full-time there and earning their high school diploma and their AA. And then the seniors would continue as seniors on his actual campus. So those are things that have been in the paper, so it's now public record, and he's talking about it. His board has approved his moving forward with this, and I know that he attended one of our meetings and listened to some things we did with Edge, and but again, it's not a charter school. He has the right to do this. And in fact, I think the legislation says that he's supposed to do this in conjunction with the local school board. So he does have to come to us, and with you, he has to come up with some type of a contract. And certainly you would want to know all of the details and how he plans to do this, because certainly we would need to work with him on this. And it did say in the paper he did come and meet with myself and Mr. Buckles and talk to us briefly about his thoughts, and said that he would come to the board, at such time as it was appropriate. Well, I think it's appropriate because it looks like he's moving forward, and we have to make adjustments in our high schools to accommodate that, and it's just important that we work together on this. So since it's been in the paper and the paper has endorsed it, and I know he was doing a survey, I think, of community members and parents that could give their opinion, and then he was going to move forward after that. So hopefully he's planning to come to speak to you, but I would like our attorney to contact him and say, on the board's behalf, I'm calling to say, please come give the board a full report so that they can begin understanding what you're doing and working with you on this collegiate high school.
Won't our students will have to officially withdraw from Putnam County Schools to attend?
Yes. And the cost of the courses and the books will be the responsibility of the Putnam County School District. So the
For the
money.
collegiate high school?
Yes. So the students who are currently attending our high schools who will choose to apply, and then if they are accepted, go to that collegiate high school, the money that we get for students, it will continue to come here, and Rhonda will then have to turn around and pay the college for the classes and the books for all students who leave our high schools and go to the collegiate high school. So that's why it's very important. There's a financial issue here that, if we are using that money to hire teachers and then we end up not needing the teachers, I would rather our high school principals not replace any teachers that are currently leaving at the end of this year due to retirement or because they're moving or whatever, so that we can financially look at how many students will be going to him, and how, that money will have to go to the college from Rhonda to pay for their college courses, high school and college courses through the college, and also the books. And we know college is quite expensive, so that will be something that Rhonda and the finance department will have to handle. And the sooner we know all the particulars, the better it will be for our finance department and for us as we move forward. Because again, just out of courtesy, I don't want to hire teachers for students that our high schools assume they're going to have, and then end up not having those students because they're going to the collegiate high school and we have less students and don't have a need for those teachers. So there's a lot of issues here that need to be worked out, and I want to do the right thing by our students and our teachers and not cause anybody any undue anxiety. And the only way we can do that is if Mr. Pickens comes and talks to us about what he's doing and how we can move forward to work with him for this wonderful, tremendous idea that he has.
I'm optimistic that the termination of the group with Edge High School will be part of the solution with what is being attempted. We haven't heard that, and probably it's because they just haven't taken the time to contact us yet, but they should. I gave Charlie, Mr. Pickens, a number. He's probably already got it. And I think, you know, it's going to be a interesting thing because I know, I have not read the legislation, but they're going to have the same charter school privileges of coming and participating in sports, perhaps, you know, activities that we have at the school. That's my understanding. And there are a lot of uncertain things that really hinder the district, but I'm optimistic that we can work together to make this a good situation. So,
Well, we're just facing some things that we've never done before. We've never had a collegiate high school before, so that's breaking new ground, that's new territory. We need to work together so we get it right the first time for everybody. And certainly Edge, one of our charter schools, we've had charter schools open. We have 3 currently with Edge. We've never had one close. So if they have rescinded their charter and they're closing, then that is something new to us. So all of these things need to be worked on together so that we can move forward and make sure that what we do, that we are very considerate of all the parties involved, the parents, the students, and certainly the school district, because we're the ones that have to make the adjustments, and it is all kind of new ground, new territory for us. So we want to do it the right way the first time.
thank you.
And that's all I have for today.
I'll let you, we'll go into the ag thing another day, okay?
Yes, I didn't want to do that now because it would take some time that we probably need to take a little more time for that.
So, anyone else have anything to add that they thought about? Hearing none, I adjourn the meeting.